All right, awards season is officially in high gear, and if you're trying to follow the Oscar race, you know it is just a complete roller coaster right now. We are in that final crazy stretch where anything can happen. So let's break down exactly what you need to be watching for.
I don't think I've ever seen a headline that sums it up so perfectly. This right here, from Variety, is the whole story. We've got a couple of movies that feel like absolute juggernauts, but the ground underneath them is shaky, and there is so much room for some genuine chaos to unfold.
And that's because we are right in the thick of it. This is crunch time. The next few weeks are where these precursor awards, they aren't just giving out statues. They are literally building up and tearing down the stories around these films right before Oscar voters fill out their ballots. Right now, momentum, it's everything. And what's really wild is just how packed this schedule is. I mean, look at this. The Critics' Choice just happened, setting the stage. But then, bam, you get the Screen Actors Guild nominations, which are a huge deal since actors are the biggest group in the Academy. That's just a few days before the Globes. And then, boom, the very next morning, Oscar voting opens. A movie's entire fortune can change over a single weekend. It's nuts. So with all that chaos swirling around, is there anyone sitting at the top feeling pretty good? Well, yeah. Pretty much every expert, every critic, they all agree on one thing. There is one movie that everyone else is chasing. And that movie is Paul Thomas Anderson's massive epic, One Battle After Another. I mean, after it just steamrolled the Critics' Choice Awards, winning Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Adapted Screenplay, it really cemented itself as the one to beat. It is the undisputed heavyweight in the ring.
So why is it so dominant? Well, it's kind of the perfect storm. First, you've got Paul Thomas Anderson, a director that everyone in Hollywood feels is just so overdue for a big win. Then the movie itself, it's a throwback, right? It's one of those big, splashy, star-packed dramas for adults that the Oscars used to love. Throw in a really powerful industry story about this being a last hurrah for the old Warner Bros., plus amazing performances from huge stars, and you've got a movie that is just really, really hard to bet against.
But hey, it wouldn't be an Oscar race if there wasn't a pack of challengers nipping at the frontrunner's heels, right? So let's look at the other films that have a real shot at pulling off an upset. And you've got two major contenders with totally different playbooks. On one hand, there's Hamnet. It's this gorgeous literary film. It won the Toronto Film Festival Audience Award, which is a huge deal because it shows it connects with people, something you need to win Best Picture. And then on the other hand, you've got this international powerhouse, Sentimental Value. It was a huge critical hit at Cannes, and it really taps into the Academy's growing love for global cinema. So two very different movies fighting for the same prize.
And then you've got the wild card, the potential spoiler, Ryan Coogler's Sinners. This one came out of nowhere to co-lead the Critics' Choice with 4 wins. And it's a horror movie, but it's a horror movie with some serious ideas and huge box office appeal. It feels like the one movie that could just crash the party and change everything at the last minute. But, and this just perfectly shows the massive mountain Sinners has to climb. The Academy has a real bias against horror. I mean, think about this. It has been more than 30 years since a horror movie won Best Picture. 30! So the big question for Sinners is, can it actually be the film to finally break through that wall?
Okay, so let's zoom out for a second. Beyond just the individual films, what are the bigger forces, the undercurrents that are shaping this whole race? There are a couple of key things going on that explain why some of these movies are picking up steam. Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein is a perfect example of this. When it came out, everybody pegged it as a technical masterpiece, a sure thing for costumes, makeup, production design. But then Jacob Elordi gets that surprise win for supporting actor. And all of a sudden, the whole conversation shifts. The film gets repositioned as a serious player. And now, a Best Picture nomination doesn't just seem possible, it almost feels likely. See? That's how momentum works. Another huge factor is this international wave we've been seeing. The Academy is way more global now, so it's not a question of if a non-English language film gets nominated for Best Picture, it's how many. You've got Sentimental Value from Norway, which feels like a lock, but then there's It Was Just an Accident from France and The Secret Agent from Brazil, and they're right in there too. There are only so many spots, and they're all fighting for one. And what fuels all of this? What's the engine behind the momentum? It's this word, narrative. This might be the single most important concept in the whole Oscar race. It's not just about the movie, it's the story behind the movie. It's the hook that gets voters emotionally invested. You have to remember, these voters are people, they're artists, and a great story about how a film got made can be just as powerful as the film itself. And this year, you can see these competing stories everywhere.
For one battle, it's the director is due narrative. Paul Thomas Anderson is a master, and it's his time. For It Was Just an Accident, it's the unbelievable, brave filmmaking story of its director defying his government to even make it. And then you have Marty Supreme with the classic Cinderella story, The Little Indie That Could. Each one of these narratives is a powerful campaign tool designed to win over hearts and minds.
So when you boil it all down, you've got a huge frontrunner, you've got a fascinating group of challengers, and you have all these powerful competing stories. As we head into this final stretch, the real question isn't just which movie is the best. It's which story is going to be the most powerful. Which one is going to cut through all that chaos and win it all? It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.